The next adventure for Batman begins in Detective Comics number 41 with a cover date of July 1940. On a certain eventful night, important incidents take place that are to involve many people, including Batman and Robin. First, a homicidal maniac breaks out of an insane asylum. Later that night, the superintendent of Blake's School for Boys is found murdered. He was strangled. At the same time, in one of the dormitory rooms, a child named Ted Spencer is awoken by a mysterious person. The next day, the newspaper reports on the murder of the superintendent and Ted Spencer's disappearance. Bruce thinks Batman and Robin should lend a helping hand, from afar, of course. So Bruce enrolls Dick into the school, that way he could scope out the place and get information without garnering suspicion. Dick gets accepted to the school, and while they're completing the enrollment process with Mr. Blake, the principal, an enraged teacher named Mr. Greer bursts in and has it out with Blake. Greer's getting fired because he failed a student for screwing up a test, and his father pays a nice tuition fee. So Greer threatens Blake and the school. Bruce tells Blake that Greer has it out for him, but Blake brushes it off and wants Bruce and Dick to meet the rest of the staff and show them the students' sleeping quarters. Blake introduces them to the eccentric art instructor Mr. Graves, a master engraver, and the history teacher Mr. Hodges, the latter giving them the cold shoulder. Blake assures Bruce that Hodges is just reserved, but a fine instructor. Graves says Hodges keeps to himself and no one likes him. Before Bruce leaves, he gives instructions to Dick to gather info and report back to him since there are a lot of policemen around looking for the killer and lost child, so Batman won't have much privacy to gather intel. Dick gets to work right away talking with the students. One of them told him the police searched Ted Spencer's room looking for a diary he kept, thinking he may have written something down that would have to do with his disappearance. But they had no luck. That night, Robin creeps the hallways to search Ted's room for that missing diary. Robin searches the room and finds the diary. He looks to the last entry, which was a couple of days before he went missing, and finds out some startling news. Ted had seen a masked man walking down the corridor and was going to report it to Mr. Blake. A hand reaches out and snatches the diary from Robin. It's the masked man. He looks at Robin and says, "I don't know who you are, but I'm taking this diary." Robin turns and readies to defend himself and get that diary back. With a quickness, he punches the masked man, stunning him. He rounds again for another attack. This time, though, the masked man is ready for him and hits him with a chair, almost knocking Robin out. The man takes the diary and hightails it. By the time Robin gets to his feet, he is mad at himself. The masked man is gone, and he never got to finish reading that diary entry. It's time to let the Batman know what has happened. Inside Robin's belt buckle, there is a tiny wireless communication device. He prepares to use it. Robin tells Batman all the info he found, and about the masked man. Batman tells Robin to search Mr. Blake's room, since he was mentioned in the diary entry. In a large dark room, the masked man reads the diary and is happy he secured it because it could have given a clue to the police about his activities here. He burns the diary in his fireplace, ready to continue his work. The next night, Robin readies himself to search Blake's room, but before he climbs, he hears an agonizing scream for help coming from the courtyard. Robin rounds the corner and sees a man standing over someone with a knife yelling at him about not really being a janitor, but a keeper, just like the one he killed the other night. Suddenly, the madman sees Robin and attacks, screaming at him that he found another one trying to bring him back. He escaped, but you won't. Robin ducks, letting the man's momentum carry him over his head. He steps in, grabs the psycho's wrist, disarming him, and judo throwing him over his shoulder. He mounts the nutcase and starts to beat the balls out of him. Then he hears the cops coming, and he needs to get out of there before they could find him and blame him for this. The next morning, the school is abuzz with the news of the maniacal killer being caught. The teachers speculate that the police will leave since the killer has been apprehended, and the case is closed. But Dick Grayson knows better. What about the missing boy, and the diary, plus that masked man? No, this case is just beginning. The teachers are approached by Mr. Hodges, who has his own opinion, and tells Blake he's a fool because there's still a missing boy about. Later that night, Robin goes to investigate Mr. Blake's room, since he didn't get a chance to the night before. What he finds is most startling. Mr. Blake is laying on the ground murdered. In the morning, the body is discovered and the police suspect Mr. Greer because he threatened Blake after being fired. Greer claims his innocence. The cops lay it on hard to Greer, who is persistent that he is innocent. Robin contacts Batman, and this time he's instructed to patrol the halls of the school at night, and Batman will keep watch right outside the school grounds to see if anyone leaves. At midnight, Robin sees the masked man coming out of Blake's room, and he keeps his distance. He trails him into a classroom where the masked man presses a secret panel on the side of a chalkboard, revealing a hidden passageway. Robin thinks there could be tunnels behind there. Robin enters the secret passageway and follows the man through the tunnels. It opens up to a hidden doorway in an abandoned field where the man enters a nearby house. Inside the house is a group of men and the missing boy, Ted Spencer. Robin overhears the men talking about their plans. The masked man went into Blake's room and got a bunch of money that Blake hid. Real money, not the counterfeit money they've been making here. Apparently Blake was involved in this scheme, but started to get scared and quit on them, so he was killed. The masked man turns to Ted Spencer and is ready to kill him too, so he can't talk. Suddenly, the door flies open, taking out one of the men, and Robin strikes like a human avalanche. The odds are stacked against Robin, and the men are about to attack when a familiar voice offers his help. Turning, the men see the Batman standing before them. They scatter because they know they are no match for the Dark Knight. Before they can leave, Batman and Robin start a full-on battle royale, destroying the goons in a barrage of punches and kicks. Bones snap and jaws break. In the midst of all the commotion, the masked man tries to slip away. Batman orders Robin to chase him down, and Robin pulls out an ancient but effective device, his slingshot. Quickly, Robin unleashes his slingshot and hits the masked man right in the back of the head, incapacitating him. Batman catches up and takes the mask off, revealing Mr. Graves, the eccentric art teacher. Robin can't understand why. Batman explains that if he remembers correctly, Graves is a master engraver, and who would be better suited than he to engrave a money forgery plate? He and Blake must have been partners, and Graves would sneak out at night, but was probably seen by the Spencer boy, so when Spencer told Blake, Blake told Graves to kidnap him so he couldn't tell anyone else. Blake got panicky, so Graves had to kill him, and he came back tonight to get Blake's hidden money, all while using the school to cover up their counterfeiting business. They're going to leave these men for the cops to take care of. After everything is wrapped up, Dick asks Bruce how he did on the case. Bruce tells him that if he did this great as a kid, he pities the criminals that run into him as a man.